going to be showing you the maintenance and the inspection and assessment of a chest tube. So first I perform hand hygiene, and I'm going to go into the room and introduce myself to my patient. Hi, I'm Courtney, I'm going to be your nurse. I'm just going to be taking a quick look at your chest tube and your incision site and checking documentation and everything. So I would ask them for their name and date of birth and verify it with their armband. I make sure the patient has privacy. Before coming into the room, I would get a report from the nurse prior, and I would check it with documentation and what they say and what's marked on the chamber for output, well, drainage, and what's been going on throughout the day or night. So I'm going to check the incision site for signs of crepitus, signs of infection, pain, inflammation, anything out of the ordinary. If the patient's having trouble tolerating the incision, if there's any problems, I'd page the doctor. So I'm just going to check the site, checking for temperature, looks, coloring, asking the patient how they're doing with it again, if they're tolerating me looking at it, looking for signs of drainage at the site too. I'm going to check the tubing to make sure that's all connected and there's no crimping or cramping that would affect the drainage system. I'm going to look down here to make sure that there's only moderate bubbling in and out. If it is like a full-on boil, there's a problem and I need to page the doctor. I'm also going to check the drainage for color, consistency, if anything abnormal coming out of it. Throughout the shift, I'll be monitoring it, and at the end of the shift, I'll document what my output was for the drainage with my initials, the date, and the time. I'd also document it in the record for the patient. I'm also going to keep this below the site of the incision. If anything happens where the chest tube falls out, I would tape a gauze over the incision site on 3 sides, keeping one side open to allow for air to come in and out. Same thing if any other tubing came out, I would insert it into 3 inches of sterile water, and for any of those circumstances, I would call the doctor immediately because it's an emergency. I'd make sure that there's always supplies at the side of the table that I need. And again, assessing the patient throughout the shift to make sure they're tolerating it and the drainage is fine and there's no extra boiling or anything. Not boiling, bubbling. Making sure I document everything. So after I assess the patient, I would make sure they don't need anything else and get rid of my gloves and perform hand hygiene.